Have you ever caught yourself pondering how quickly time flies when you're engrossed in a good book, yet it seems to crawl when you're stuck in traffic? A peculiar thing, isn't it? This sensation of time's elasticity, its ability to stretch and contract according to our circumstances. This is the subjective perception of time, a concept as fascinating as it is elusive. It's the reason why childhood summers seem to last forever. Yet as we grow older, years appear to pass in the blink of an eye. It's why a minute on a hot stove feels like an eternity, but the same 60 seconds in the company of a loved one can vanish like smoke. Here's the twist though, what if we could in some way manipulate this perception? What if we could stretch out the good times and make the less pleasant ones pass more swiftly? This phenomenon, my friends, is what we call a time warp. So what exactly is a time warp, you may ask? Well, in the simplest terms, a time warp refers to the alteration of time perception. It's like being in a mental state where time seems to either slow down or speed up, all based on your perception. Now, that might sound a bit sci-fi, but it's a very real phenomenon that we all experience in our daily lives. Let's delve a little deeper. You might have heard of the concept of time dilation in physics. It's a principle of Einstein's theory of relativity, where time can appear to slow down or speed up depending on how fast you're moving relative to something else. While time warp isn't exactly the same thing, it's a useful analogy to understand how our perception of time can be altered. Now, what influences this perception? It's primarily our brain. Our brain, being the complex machine it is, constantly adjusts our perception of time based on a multitude of factors. For instance, when we're in a life-threatening situation, our brain can make time seem to slow down, allowing us to react more quickly. On the other hand, when we're having a good time at a party, time seems to fly by. External factors also play a crucial role. Temperature, light, and even the company we keep can influence how we perceive time. Ever noticed how time seems to drag when you're waiting in a slow queue, but flies by when you're engrossed in a captivating novel? That's your brain's perception of time at work. But time warp isn't just about the brain playing tricks on us. It's about understanding that our perception of time isn't fixed. It's fluid, constantly changing based on our environment and state of mind. So in the end, a time warp isn't some far-fetched concept from a science fiction novel. It's a fascinating insight into how our brains work and how we perceive the world around us. In simpler terms, a time warp is how your brain tricks you into experiencing time differently. You might be wondering, how does this time warp concept apply to my everyday life? Well, let's take a moment to consider some familiar scenarios. Ever noticed how time seems to fly when you're engrossed in a gripping novel or having a blast at a party? That's a classic example of time warp in action. Your mind is so captivated by the enjoyment of the activity that it perceives time as passing faster than it actually is. Now think of those moments when you're stuck in a dreary meeting or waiting in line at the post office. The seconds seem to drag on endlessly, don't they? This is yet another manifestation of the time warp phenomenon. When you're bored or uninterested, your mind perceives time as crawling at a snail's pace. This time warp effect isn't just an odd quirk of the human mind, it's actually a powerful tool that we can harness to our advantage. By understanding how our perception of time is influenced by our mental state, we can learn to control and even manipulate it. Imagine being able to stretch out the enjoyable moments in your life, making them seem to last longer. Or on the flip side, being able to speed up those tedious tasks that seem to take forever. It's all about learning to master your mind and your perception of time. But this goes even deeper. Understanding the time warp effect can also help us to live more fully in the present moment. Instead of constantly looking forward to the future or dwelling on the past, we can learn to savor the here and now, and in doing so, we can make every second count. So the next time you find yourself wishing for more hours in the day, remember the time warp effect. It's not about finding more time, it's about making the most of the time we have. With this understanding, we can manipulate our perception to make the most of our time. Now that we've established what a time warp is and how it impacts our lives, the big question remains, how can we use it to our advantage? Let's dive right in. Mindfulness is a powerful strategy. By focusing on the present moment, we can slow down our perception of time. When we're fully engaged in an activity, be it reading a book or simply watching the sunset, we become less aware of time passing. This can make moments seem longer, allowing us to savor experiences and create more vivid memories. Next, let's talk about altering routines. As creatures of habit, we often fall into the same daily patterns. But if we shake things up, time can seem to slow. This is because our brains are wired to pay more attention when things are new or unexpected. So try a new recipe, change your morning routine, or take a different route to work. You'll be surprised how much these small changes can stretch your perception of time. Lastly, learning new skills is a fantastic way to utilize time warp. When we're learning, our brains are actively engaged, which slows down our perception of time. Plus, learning keeps us mentally sharp and can be a rewarding way to spend our time. The benefits of these strategies are immense. They can lead to increased productivity, improved well-being, and enhanced life experiences. By mastering the art of time warp, we can transform our lives in ways we never thought possible. As we reach the end of our journey through time today, let's quickly revisit the fascinating concept of time warp. We've delved into its enigma, broken it down, observed it in everyday life, and explored how to use it to our advantage. Harnessing this understanding can truly transform your life experiences. Remember, time waits for no one, but with the power of time warp, you can make every second count.